And welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 13th January today, and in this video we are going to solve different types of questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. Before we'll start solving these questions, as usual, I would like to give you the brief introduction about the video, about this initiative, so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with it. In this video, we will try to discuss various types of questions, and if we will break those questions into different parts, it would come under three different parts, or we can say three different sets. In the first set of questions which we are going to discuss in this video, we take the questions from the current affairs. What we do, we take up the most important articles from the current affairs, from the news papers. We try to discuss them. We will try to break them down into the simplest language possible, and we will try to derive the possible prelims based questions which can be asked from that particular article, so that it will give you the idea what your approach should be when you are going through your current affairs preparation, what your approach should be when you are reading the newspaper, what article is important for your preparation, and also how the questions can be framed from that particular article. This is what we are going to discuss in the first part of our discussion. Most of the questions which we are going to discuss in this video are directly from the current affairs, so it would contain 70% of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to the current affairs, we shift our approach to the another part of our discussion, where we will take up a static topic. From last few months we are discussing the static topics also here, and we started with Indian polity, and we started discussing every topic in detail one by one. We are taking the discrete approach while we are discussing the static topics, and right now we had reached to the office of the president with respect to the Indian constitution. We will discuss few articles with respect to that, and we will try to derive the possible prelims question which can be formed from that particular article. So this is what we are going to discuss in the second part of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to the current affairs and the static part, we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion, where we will take a few previous year questions. This is the most important part of our discussion. As it is said, if you are preparing for the prelims exam, especially prelims to if you are preparing for prelims UPSC exam, IAS prelims exam, and you had not gone through the previous year questions, then your hard work is not enough. You have to go through the previous year questions. You should know what are the trends the UPSC is using while framing your papers. You need to know about that. You need to know about the different techniques by which you can solve the questions if you don't have the proper knowledge. You need to have that understanding, and that we will give you through this video in the last part of our discussion. So this is what we are going to do in this video in nutshell. These are the three different parts, or we can say three different sets, what we are going to discuss in this video. Before we'll start discussing these questions, before we'll start going through before we'll start solving these questions, I would like to request you guys few things which I believe if I was at your place I would definitely do that, and it is going to help me in clearing my prelims exam. And what is that? If I was at your place, I would every day start noting down these questions. I will develop my own question bank. This is very much important. Develop your own question bank. If you have your own question bank before the exam, when your exams are very much near, usually I'm talking about the month of May, when you are left with only few days, and this is the human tendency that we want to go through everything what we had studied. We want to go for that last mile revision, but the time does not permit us, because we have to go for the CSAT preparations, we have to go for the current affairs static topic and previous year questions, we have to go for everything what we had studied, and we know how vast the UPSC syllabus is. So at that time, the time does not permit us, and we feel low in confidence. And that is the biggest drawback in our preparation. So what will we do at that time? If you have these questions with you, if you would had followed me from last 6 months, we are doing this, and you would have noted down these all questions. These questions would have been with you, what you will do, you would just go through these questions. These questions would connect you with the current affairs of the day, of the year. These questions would connect you with the static topics. These questions will definitely give you the previous year analysis, and it is going to boost your confidence. And trust me, this is what you need before the exam. This is the confidence is the most important thing which you need before the exam, and you don't want to feel low on confidence on the day of your exam. So what you should do, start writing down these questions, or make your own question bank. Either take the screenshot of these questions or write down these questions. These questions are going to help you in many ways. So with this, I would like to request you one last thing. Please do subscribe the channel, share it with your friends, and do write in the comments what do you feel about the video. When you will subscribe, it will definitely help the channel to grow. When you will like the video, it will definitely help the channel to grow. So please do subscribe and share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited, and do write in the comments what do you feel about the video. Now, without any delay, let's start with the first question which we have brought today. The first question which we had brought today is about the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, they came up with this act in 2023, and yet the rules were not framed with respect to that. Recently we saw that we discussed about the draft rules which were framed with respect to that act. What are the drawbacks with respect to those draft rules? We discussed that in very much detail. And here in this video, as there were many articles about the draft rules, how they fall short. There were many articles with respect to that, so it becomes a little bit necessary for us to have one last look on the draft rules. What does they say about? So let's try to find out about that. What does the draft rules say? Here you need to know one thing about the draft rules. They are not something which is going to, they are not the final rules yet. We can just understand them, and very soon the ministry will come up the final rules, and those would be the last discussion of it. Now let's see what does the draft rules say. In recent class also we discussed about the data fiduciaries. They are those who will take your data, and data principles. It defined data fiduciaries and data principles. What is data principle? For example, you are the data principal whose data will be taken, and data fiduciaries would be social media apps who are taking your data. So in these draft rules, it defines certain rights. What the data principles enjoy. It defines certain duties what the data fiduciaries have to do, and it defines these, what are the provisions of the act, how those provisions of the act will be implemented. Few of them we had discussed in very much detail. So today also we will discuss them and see them one by one. First of all, this draft rules, it discusses about the responsibility of the data fiduciary. It discusses about the responsibility of the data fiduciary with respect to the data they are taking. For example, there is some social media app. Here we will talk about Instagram or Facebook. They will take your data, so it is their responsibility. To enhance the safety of the data, that there would be no data breach. And they should the data fiduciaries, when they will take your data, they have to give the details for which they are taking this data. They have to give those details to the data principals whose data they are taking. And for example, if there is any data breach, they have to convey that to the data principal. They have to convey that data breach to the people whose data they had taken, and they have to convey everything about the data breach and at what location that had been done. So first thing which it mentions in detail, in detail we discussed about it. Now here it is a little recap session of it. First, it is the responsibility of the data fiduciary to protect the data. There should be no data breach, and if there is any data breach, they have to communicate that with that data breach with the data principals, that is you people who are giving your data. They have to tell you what had happened. They have to tell you where there is data breach. They have to tell everything. They have to convey everything. So it is the responsibility of the data fiduciary. Then the second important thing which my eyes caught, it was about the protection of children. These draft rules, they talk about how if anybody is below 18, how they are only how they can open the accounts, how they can, their data can be demanded only. For example, if there is anybody below 18 and he wants to open some Facebook ID, or we can say some Insta ID or something where his data will be needed. So at that time, how these digital how this draft rules define that it is the duty of the guardian or the parent who will give their consent, and how that consent will be taken, either their Aadhaar cards would be taken or in different ways. So it protects the children, in this way that they will be only allowed to open the accounts from if their parents give the consent or their guardians give the consent. So this is what it talks about. Then the third thing which this talks about, it talks about the right of right to be forgotten. This is one important thing. For example, I had given my data on any platform and I want to delete those things, I want to be forgotten. This is my, I can demand that to the data fiduciaries that please remove my data, delete my data, and they have to comply with that. Then the other important things, you know for example, another important things which this draft rule suggested that, which it suggested that for example, if we are giving any data, it should be in the encrypted mode, that it should not be easily available to the people who are spying on you. It should be very much in encrypted mode. And also it talks about the data localization. It do talk about the data localization. Data localization requirements should not go out. For example, your data should not be stored outside the jurisdiction of India. So that is the major concern with respect to that, which we discussed in our last class also. And also it talked about there should be the data protection board. It also talked about the protection data protection board, and it gave some, it talked about the data protection board. It talked about how they will take up the grievances, and there are some concerns related to data protection board which we will discuss after a few minutes. So it gave some, for example, there are some certain things with respect to government where the leniency is given. For example, if government wants your information, then they don't have to comply with these rules, because it would be for the welfare of the people. So this is all in nutshell what these draft rules talk about. Now the author here raises certain concerns with respect to it. First, certain concerns with respect to these draft rules. What are those concerns which we need to know? These concerns are, for example, there is no detailed mechanism. Usually when the acts, when the act is formed, they give the provisions, what are your rights, and when the draft rules are formed, they will give you how to implement those rights. But in this draft rule, there is no detailed mechanism how they are going. For example, for a child, if their information is required, how they are going to verify that this certain person is the real parent of that child. So there is no detailed mechanism in that. And also, there are many work provisions in it which can lead to various interpretations. For example, with respect to the government taking your data, it can lead to various interpretations. And also, when these draft rules are framed, it will ask for your feedback with respect to that. And we know how there is digital divide in our country. That is the major concern, the digital divide in our country. And we know about this act, it is going to affect the common people. And in the people who are going to affect by this act, they are not giving the response to it, they are not giving the feedback to this to these draft rules. So there is very, this is one of the drawback with respect to that, there is limited amount of stockholder participation in it. And also it did highlight the independence of the data protection board, that once some government official will be involved with the data protection board, so there would be the clash of conflict of interests with respect to that. And also it highlighted the concerns with respect to these guidelines. It also highlighted some localization. It highlighted concerns with respect to data localization, because here we have big tech companies, for example Facebook, who store data in different parts of the world. So for them to implement such a laws, to implement these guidelines, it will take them huge investment, and it may hinder their investment in India because of this act. So this is also one of the concerns which was raised by the author here. So this is in nutshell which I wanted you to know, which I want you to recap about. We discussed about that, we discussed everything what we discussed today before, but as there were many articles with respect to the draft rules in today's newspaper, so it became a kind of mandatory for us to understand what they are about, what they do tell us, what they want us to convey. Now with this, let's try to solve this question and get more idea about the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. Here the question says, with reference to the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, which of the following committees was primarily associated with the initial drafting and recommendation that led to its formation? So here we need to know which committee recommended for the drafting and recommended which of the following committee recommended the drafting of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. So what was that committee? It is Justice B.N. Shri Krishnan committee. So please do remember this. UPSC may ask you question with respect to that. They have habit of asking questions with respect to committees. So here you need to know. And with this, I hope you had understood the topic, why we had brought this question, because there were huge discussions going on in today's newspaper with respect to Digital Personal Data Protection Act draft rules, which the ministry has notified. What are the concerns with respect to that? What rights it do talk about, and how does it fit in the modern digital age with respect to India, as we have the digital divide, rural urban divide. We have, in our rural areas there are many people who don't even know such acts do exist in our country. So where does it take? Let's see how the government will notify the final rules, and we will find out that when they will notify them. So with this, what is important for you to know about the committee? When the rules will be formed, we will again discuss this topic one last time. So with this, let's move to the another question and try to solve that. you know Here the question is about the linking of voter IDs with Aadhaar. With respect to this topic also, we have done a great discussion. What are its advantages, how it is important for the governments to link Aadhaar with the voter IDs, what are its disadvantages, how the Potoswamy judgment, they said that they upheld the validity of Aadhaar, but they also said that it is not, for you, if you are having the Aadhaar, it does not mean you are the citizen of India. It is not the proof of a citizenship. So how in 2015 the government had come up with NERPAP, Act, or we can say National Electoral Rolls Purification and Authentication Program. How the Election Commission came up with this, how they wanted to link Aadhaar card with the electoral rolls, with the voter IDs, and how the Supreme Court in the Potoswamy judgment upheld the Aadhaar, but it at the same time rejected the decision of the Election Commission, and how it was stopped. And then finally in 2021, how the Representation of People Act 1950 was amended, and the registration of election rules 1960 was amended, and few rules were brought in. For example, we have Form 6 and Form 6B. So this all we are going to discuss in this, and then we will solve this question. Now I hope you had got the basic idea how it is important. Usually in our country there is an issue of duplication of voters. The major issue is duplication of voters. Why this topic is right now in the news? Because there is a political tussle going on between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. As right now BJP is governing the country, and they believe the Aam Aadmi Party believes that many voters are being eliminated from the voting list. So it gives the it again brings this news, voter ID versus with Aadhaar card, linking of voter ID with Aadhaar card. So with respect to this topic, let's dig deep into some history, recent history or very recent history, and try to understand about the Aadhaar and voter ID. As we discussed, that duplication of voters is one of the major issues. Because in our country we have internal migration. Many laborers of our state will go to different states for the work, and they their voter IDs, they start voting there, and there is usually the duplication of voters. They get listed in different constituencies for the votes. So this is one of the major issue in here. So with respect to that, to tackle this duplication of voters, the Election Commission of India in 2015, they came up with the national electoral rules, national electoral rules, purification and authentication program. In 2015, they came up with the National Electoral Rolls Purification and Authentication Program. It was launched by Election Commission. And what did it did? What was the purpose of this? To remove duplicate voter IDs, and they used Aadhaar database for that. Aadhaar database for that. They started linking Aadhaar with the voter ID, and it was done for 300 million voters in our country. But at the same time, in 2018, with respect to Aadhaar case, with respect to Aadhaar, the many people felt the lack of privacy with respect to Aadhaar, and they went to the Supreme Court. In the KS Pathuswamy judgment, it upheld this KS Pathuswamy judgment. It upheld the validity of Aadhaar. It said that Aadhaar is something which is very necessary, but it at the same time it said that Aadhaar is not the proof of the citizenship. Aadhaar is not proof of this citizenship. It is not proof of this citizenship. So in this way, you cannot link voter IDs with the Aadhaar. So this was what the Pathuswamy judgment in 2018 came up with. In 2021, again, the government went for the amending the Representation of Peoples Act 1950 and registration of elections rules 1960. The government amended it, and it allowed it this 2021 amendment. It allowed linking of voter IDs with Aadhaar. So this again went to the Supreme Court. With respect to that, when they allowed the linking of voter IDs with Aadhaar, they came up with the two different form. We can say Form 6. They came up with the Form 6 and Form. They came up with Form 6 and Form 6B. So what are these Form 6 and Form 6B? Form 6, for example, if you are the first time voter, if you are enrolling for the first time, then you have to give your Aadhaar. And Form 6B talks about, you have to authenticate your voting ID by the Aadhaar. So this situation went back to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said it to the, they commanded the Election Commission, and Election Commission said that in the interim judgment, the Election Commission said that it would this linking of Aadhaar, it is an optional, it is not mandatory. And with respect to that, they said that they are going to amend it, but till now they had not amended it. Till now they had not amended it. They had not framed the rules with respect to that it is, it is optional. It was again challenged in 2023. Till now Election Commission has done nothing with respect to that. So here we need to understand, this is the little background of it, how in 2015 the government came up with the National Electoral Rolls Purification and Authentication Program, how it went to the how Aadhaar judgment was given by the Pathuswamy judgment, how Aadhaar was upheld by in the Constitution as it is, and at the same time how the Pathuswamy judgment said that Aadhaar cannot be the proof of the citizenship, and it was removed. The things which were done in 2015, they were stopped. Then in 2021, Representation of Peoples Act 1950 was amended, and Form 6 and Form 6B were brought in for the authentication of Aadhaar and for giving Aadhaar if you are the first time voter. But this also went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said that this is very much optional, it is not mandatory. And once the Election Commission accepted it is mandatory, but after that they have to change them, but they did not added those things in Form 6 or Form 6B. So this is right now the political tussle going on between Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP with respect to that. So here what becomes important for you as an IAS aspirant, how it is important. Here we need to know the importance of linking voter ID with Aadhaar, and also what are challenges with it. The only importance, how it is going to benefit is it can avoid duplication. This what we discussed in our previous class also. If we have the biometrical presentation with respect to that. If we have given our others, it will definitely avoid the it will reduce the possibility of multiple voter IDs. It will definitely reduce the possibility of multiple voter IDs. It will also enhance transparency. So these are only few advantages associated with linking of voter ID with Aadhaar, and there are various issues also. For example, there in our country, Aadhaar is given to foreigners also if they stay for 6 months. Aadhaar issue with it is Aadhaar is not proof for citizenship. It is not proof for citizenship, so it can be violated. Here any foreigner can come, he can have the Aadhaar, and he can frame this linking voter ID and go for the voting. It will definitely lead to further malpractices. And also there is digital divide in our country. Rural voters could be impacted by this, and also there are various privacy concerns which the author here highlighted. So this is the whole discussion with respect to linking voter ID with Aadhaar. So I hope you had understood what is the discussion about. Now let us try to solve the question. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding the linking of voter ID with Aadhaar. First statement: the linking of voter ID with Aadhaar is mandatory for all citizens as per Election Laws Amendment Act 2021. Totally incorrect. It is not mandatory. They had told us that it is not mandatory. So first statement is incorrect. Second statement: the primary objective of linking voter ID with Aadhaar is to eliminate duplicate and fraudulent voter entries from electoral rolls. This is exactly what it will help in. Third, concerns have been raised about the potential for voter profiling and privacy violations due to linking of these databases. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 2 and statement 3. And from the code given below, the correct code would be option B. So with this, I hope you had understood the topic itself. You had understood the context of the topic and also the question. With this, let's move to the another question and try to solve it. Here the question is about the space docking. As it is in news. Why it is in news? Because ISRO has succeeded in nudging two satellites closer. How it was done. There is proper explanation about that. We wanted to achieve this technology. We wanted to achieve this technology. We want to be in a race with other countries who had already achieved this, yet we had not successfully done it. Maybe within 1 or 2 days we will achieve this. Yet right now there are only 3 countries who have this technology, who have this space docking technology. What happens in this? There are two satellites who are in low earth orbit, and both the satellites will have different speeds, and they will maneuver the speeds, and they will try to bring them closer and closer, and finally they will be as close as 3 meters. Once they are as close as 3 meters, then after it will be docked. After that, docking will happen. Right now the ISRO is capable. Right now ISRO has been able to nudge them as close as 3 meters. Maybe after 1 or 2 days we may hear the news that we had done the docking. And what is the main principle behind docking? To show the technology, to show that we have to demonstrate that we have this technology. Many experiments will be done. For example, we will be able to transfer the electricity. We will be able to after transferring the electricity, there will be the movement of the satellites will be done, and it will be used in various different missions. For example, we are going for Chandrayaan mission, Chandrayaan 4, where we are going to take samples from the lunar from the moon itself, we can say in simpler terms. So at that time we need this technology, where we can do this docking in the lunar space and bring the materials from there. And also we are going for our own space station, so there we will need the help of this technology, and we are very much near to achieve this status. So with respect to this, we know about it is done under the SpaceX mission, which we had discussed many times. It is under the SpaceX mission. Here we would know what are the countries which already have this technology. Here by this question we will know. Here, as the question says, which of the following countries have demonstrated successful satellite docking technologies in space? United States is one, Russia is another, and China is another. India is about to become. Right now India has not yet achieved it. Maybe after 1 or 2 days we will achieve it also. Right now it is 3 countries. Maybe after 1 or 2 days it will be 4 countries who will have this technology. With this, I hope you had understood the topic also. Now let's move to the another question. It is about the Maha Kumbh Mela. Let us see what is about. About Maha Kumbh Mela. It is celebrated after every 12 years, so it becomes important for us. It is celebrated after every 12 years, and it is celebrated in it is celebrated only at one place, and that is Prayagraj or Allahabad. Prayagraj or Allahabad. You should know about that. And also we have Kumbh Melas also. Those Kumbh Melas are celebrated in four different places. What are we have Kumbh Mela and Maha Kumbh Mela. Kumbh Melas, Kumbh Melas, they are celebrated in four different places. Prayagraj is one, Haridwar is another, Ujjain is another, and Nasik is another. At these places, this is celebrated. About Maha Kumbh Mela, it is celebrated after 12 years at one place only, that is Prayagraj. So let us try to understand about Maha Kumbh Mela, more about it through this question. Here the first question says, which of the following statements regarding the Maha Kumbh Mela are correct? First statement: the Maha Kumbh Mela is held every 6 years, alternating between four locations: Prayagraj, Haridwar, Nasik, Ujjain. Totally incorrect. It is held after every 12 years. There is no alternating locations. It's only held at Prayagraj. So, with respect to this question, this statement is totally incorrect. Second statement: the calculation of the Kumbh Mela's timing is based on the planetary position of the Sun, Moon, and Jupiter. Nothing wrong with the statement. Correct. Third, the Kumbh Mela is recognized by the UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. 100%. Correct. Nothing wrong with the statement too. Then the fourth statement: the Maha Kumbh Mela occurs every 12 years at only Prayagraj. 100% correct. This statement is 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 2, statement 3, and statement 4. So it will be held at Prayagraj. So with this, I hope you had understood about it also. Now let's move to the another question and see what else was in the news today. So here it is about the African tiger fish. There was a discussion about it in the newspaper. So let's understand it through this question, what it is about. Here the question says, which of the following statements regarding the African tiger fish Hydrocynus vittatus are correct? First statement: the African tigerfish is found exclusively in the Nile river water. As the statement here suggests, it is very extreme. So we can say it is incorrect. It is found at various places, not exclusively in Nile river water. It is definitely the fresh water species, but not found only in the Nile river water. Second statement: they are known for they are known for their aggressive predatory behavior and powerful jaws with large sharp teeth. 100% correct. They will leap out of the water and catch the birds. This is how they do their how they prey. So second statement is correct. Third statement: the African tigerfish is a popular game fish known for its fighting spirit. 100% correct. Nothing wrong with the statement. Fourth statement: they are the only extant members of the genus Hydrocynus. Incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 2 and 3 only, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option B. With this, I hope you had got the basic info about the African tiger fish. They may ask you a question. It is the predator fish. It will jump out of the water and catch the birds. So it is a freshwater fish. So with respect to this, let's move to the last question of today's discussion with respect to current affairs. Here the question is about the Holon Gapar Gibbon Sanctuary. Question is about the Holon Gopar Gibbon Sanctuary. Why we had brought this question here? Because Center Wildlife Panel has approved a proposal to carry out oil and gas exploration in the ecosystem zone of this area. So it is concerning, as Center Wildlife Panel has approved a proposed project to carry out oil and gas exploration. So we need to know about the Holon Gapur Gibbon Sanctuary more. We need to know more about it. So first of all, about its location: it is located in the state of Assam. 100% correct. Second, it is named after the Holong tree, which is abundant in the area. 100% correct. And this Holong tree, it is a rainforestry, evergreen rainforestry. We need to know about that. Third, it is primarily dedicated to the conservation of the western hollow gibbon, India's only ape species. 100% correct. So from here we also know India's only ape species, which is Western Holyoke Gibbon. This is also correct. Fourth statement, the sanctuary is contiguous with the Kaziranga National Park. Totally incorrect, as both are in the Assam, but it is not contiguous with it. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 2 and statement 3, and from the code given below, the correct option is option A. With this, I hope you had understood every topic from the current affairs. You had understood every question from the current affairs. I try my best to not confuse you. If there is any confusion left, please do write in the comments. We will try to clear that. And also, with this, let's move to the another part of our discussion, that is the static topic questions. And one more thing I want to add here, from today, if anybody among you would want to get the PDF of these classes, they may ask us. We have given our email address in our bio, so please contact our email ID. We will give the PDFs of these classes. Earlier we did not use to save them because now we are saving them. We will have it, and if you will need, please do write in the comments. We will definitely comments, or do contact us on our email ID. We will definitely convey that thing to you guys. So with this, let's move to the another part of our discussion, where we will solve some previous year questions. We will solve a stat. As you know, right now we are discussing the President of India. About the President of India, we should know the office of the President. It is discussed under the Indian Constitution. It is discussed under the Indian Constitution in part 5 of the Constitution, which we should know. In our last class, we discussed how he is the ceremonial head, how the agreements are done on his name, but he does not enjoy the major power because he is bound by the advice of the cabinet ministers, PM, or the cabinet council of ministers. He is bound by the advice of them. So with respect to President, we will understand everything one by one. So here we will discuss some important articles with respect to President. As today we have brought Article 52. Let's see what does Article 52 say about the President of India under Indian Constitution. Here the question says, which of the following statements are correct regarding Article 52 of the Indian Constitution? First statement, Article 52 states that there shall be a President of India. This is what the Article 52 says: there shall be the President of India. This office cannot remain vacant. For example, if this office is vacant, then the Vice President will be the President. For example, if the President is not available to do his duty, then the Vice President will do his duty on his behalf. So while Vice President will be deemed as President, so this office can never be vacant. So this is the correct option with respect to this question. Second option, Article 52 outlines the qualification requirements. No, incorrect. Article 52 describes the procedure for the election. No. Article 52 details the power and functions of the President. No. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is statement 1, that is Article 52 states that there shall be a President of India, and from the code given below, the correct code is option A. With this, I hope you had understood this article. What does it say? There shall be the President of India, that is, this office can never remain vacant. And about President, we know it comes under part 5 of the Indian Constitution. We know he is the ceremonial head. The actual head is the head of the government, who is Prime Minister. And we had brought this concept from, basically we had brought the Westminster minister democracy. We had brought it from Britain, where they have the monarch as the ceremonial head, and we have the President. The difference is the monarch is hereditary in nature, and we have the elected president. That we will understand in our upcoming classes. I hope till now you had understood about the president under Article 52. What does it say? There shall be the President of India. Now with this, let's move to the last part of our discussion, where we will solve a previous year question from the physical geography, and we will conclude our discussion. Here the question says, consider the following statements. Ocean currents are a slow surface movement of water in the ocean. Before we will solve this question, I would like to mention that we had already discussed questions with respect to ancient history, with respect to medieval, and with respect to modern. We had also discussed questions with respect to India's freedom struggle. Now our questions are with respect to physical geography. We had taken up the geography, and today we had brought this question from the paper 2022. And this question was asked with respect to currents. Let us try to understand this question. Here the question says,
consider the following statements. Options were in different way, and one option was, we can say, I would give how the options were 1 and 2 only. This was one option. Then the second option was 1, 2, 3 and 4. Third option was 1 and 3 only, and the fourth option was 2, 3 and 4. These were the options given here. So here I will try to make you understand how you can mark the question if you don't have the proper knowledge. Let us see first statement here. It says ocean currents are slow surface movement of water in the ocean. Let's keep it here. Let's now discuss this. Second option is ocean current assist in maintaining the Earth's heat balance. It helps in maintaining Earth's heat balance. You might had heard, maybe you don't have the proper knowledge about it. You might had heard about cold currents and warm currents. So it has something to do with the heat in maintaining the Earth's heat balance. So by having some proper knowledge, for example, we don't have the proper knowledge. By having some little knowledge, basic knowledge about the warm current, cold currents and warm currents, we can assume that this might be true. Here I'm trying to explain you a thing that suppose you don't know the question, but how you can assume, how you can, by having a common knowledge, by having the common sense, you can mark the question correctly. Then the second option says ocean currents are set in motion primarily by prevailing winds. Nothing wrong with this statement too. They are, if we will see prevailing winds, they primarily set ocean currents into motion. So we can assume this also too. Then the third statement here, ocean currents are affected by the configuration of winds. 100% correct. You can, when they are set primarily by winds, they will definitely get impacted by the configuration of winds. So these two statements we can either mark both correct or incorrect. But here, as our basic knowledge says, these two statements are correct. Now about the heat balance, we know about warm and we know about the warm and cold currents. We can say we can mark this also true. So here we had understood that option second, it is correct, option third is correct, option fourth is correct. Now we are left with only one option, which is ocean currents are slow surface movement of water in the ocean. Is it true? Now if we will assume that how fast winds move in the ocean, so how can we assume that they are slow surface movement? So we can mark it incorrect. So this is a way, this is how you should approach, how your approach should be while you are trying to solve that question about which you don't have the proper knowledge. So by this technique you can mark it correctly, that correct options are option 2, 3 and 4. But as here we have the proper knowledge, they are not slow surface movement, they are fast surface, they are moving fastly. So this option is incorrect here. And also we know that ocean current assist in maintaining the Earth's heat balance. We know about warm, we know about that. We know about ocean currents are set in motion primarily by prevailing winds, and we know when they are set by the prevailing winds, the ocean currents would definitely get affected by the configuration of winds. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 2, statement 3 and statement 4. With this, I hope you had understood the question and also the technique. With this, we can move forward with this knowledge and we can apply this in the upcoming exam. They may ask you about the, here we need to know about the warm currents, we need to know about the cold currents, where from they originate. This is what we need to know about this topic. With this, let's conclude our discussion. Thank you very much for staying with me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day and best of luck to you guys.